The age of the corporation is over. And most corporations don't even know it yet.
We've been taught that bigger is better. Bigger companies have more resources, more talent, more staying power. But that's the old game. The rules have changed.
Today, a team of 12 people with focus and speed can outcompete a corporation of 10,000 people with bureaucracy and inertia. The advantages that made corporations dominant are now disadvantages. Size, hierarchy, process. These slow you down.
A small team can see a market shift and pivot in days. A corporation takes months to approve a meeting to discuss the shift. By then, the small team has already won. I actually built a 1-2-person company that took down a $100B incumbent, and I've researched why small teams keep winning.
Maeve, welcome to Scale Up Stories. Small teams are beating big companies constantly. Give me examples.
Netflix disrupted Blockbuster. Airbnb disrupted hotels. Uber disrupted taxis. Stripe disrupted payments. All these were started by small teams and beat companies with 100x their resources.
But those were exceptions, right?
Were they? Almost every major innovation in the last 20 years came from small teams, not corporations. Speed and focus beat resources. Bureaucracy is inherent to big company structure.
Can corporations change that?
Some try, but once you're big, you're slow. It's not a flaw, it's a feature of size. The larger you get, the harder it is to move quickly.
Why is this happening now and not 20 years ago?
Technology and distribution. 20 years ago, you needed scale to reach customers. Now, you need a website and a product. The internet distributes for you. Barriers to entry have dropped to zero.
Let's talk about speed. How much faster is a small team?
A small team makes a decision in hours. A corporation makes the same decision in weeks. That's a 50x difference.
That seems exaggerated.
Let me walk you through it. A small team sees an opportunity and starts work that day. A corporation proposes it in a meeting. It goes to committees and approval layers. By the time they start, the small team has shipped a product.
Does approval really take that long?
Longer. I worked with a Fortune 500 company. A project I proposed took 6 months to get approved. By the time it was approved, the market had moved.
What about focus? Does a small team have more focus?
Dramatically more. A small team has one mission: win in our market. A corporation has hundreds: maximize shareholder value, maintain legacy business, explore new markets, satisfy executives. This creates internal misalignment.
How does that hurt them?
Resources get spread thin. The best people are pulled to multiple projects. A small team concentrates all resources on one mission.
Can a corporation focus?
Not really. Size creates pressure to maintain the status quo. You can't afford to disrupt your existing business, so you optimize instead of innovating.
Small teams have autonomy. Do they move faster because of it?
Completely. If something is slow, you fix it, no committees or approvals. In a corporation, if something is slow, you request a change and wait.
How much difference does autonomy make?
I'd say autonomy is worth a 3x speed multiplier. Small teams move 3 times faster than the same people in a bureaucracy.
Is there a downside to autonomy?
Sometimes you make bad decisions, but you recover fast because decisions are reversible. Corporations make fewer decisions, but spend so long analyzing them that they're harder to reverse.
Corporations have more talent because they can pay more. How do small teams compete on talent?
They don't compete on pay, they compete on impact and autonomy. Top engineers want to move the direction of a company, not just features. Most top talent will choose a startup if it's working on something interesting.
Is that true across roles?
For top talent, yes. For average talent, corporations win on pay. But you don't need average talent, you need top talent.
How much top talent do you need in a small team?
Maybe 5 people. If you have 5 top people, you can compete with a corporation of 5,000.
Do small teams struggle to attract talent because of lower pay?
Not the best talent. They'll take 50% less if you offer impact and autonomy. A top engineer at a startup making $200K may be happier than at Google making $400K.
Does that hold for all roles?
Mostly for product, engineering, and design. For a technical startup, all you need is a great founder, engineer, and designer. Everyone else supports those core people.
Who innovates faster, small teams or corporations?
Small teams by a massive margin. They try 10 ideas a month. A corporation tries 2 a year. That's a 60x difference in iteration speed, which is the bottleneck in innovation.
How do corporations try to match this?
They create innovation labs or accelerators. But those labs are still part of the corporation and subject to constraints. Best case, they maintain parity. They can't catch up to small teams.
Walk us through how you did this.
We identified a $100B problem the incumbent wasn't solving well. Built a team of 5 experts focused on solving that problem. Within 2 years, we had customers. In 5 years, revenue. In 8 years, a $500M valuation.
What did the incumbent do?
At first, nothing. They didn't see us as a threat. By the time they noticed, we had momentum and product-market fit. They tried to copy us, but we were already winning.
Could they have stopped you?
Maybe, if they had spun off a separate team of 10 with full autonomy, but that would require leadership to accept the old way wasn't working. Most leaders can't do that.
When did you know you would win against the incumbent?
When we had product-market fit, customers came back, spread the word, and were willing to pay. It was clear they wanted what we built.
Did the incumbent ever try to acquire you?
Yes, but by then we'd already won. The acquisition price was enormous. They decided to compete, but couldn't, because they would have had to destroy their existing business to do it.
Do you think small teams will always beat big corporations?
The advantage is swinging towards small teams. Expect massive corporate collapse in the next 10 years unless they adapt quickly.
Which ones will survive?
Those that embrace smallness and autonomy, or those in heavily regulated industries where size is still an advantage.
Will new corporations just become the old corporations?
Probably. That's the cycle. Small team disrupts, becomes a corporation, and then gets disrupted by another small team.
How do you break the cycle?
By staying small. Some companies are intentionally keeping their teams lean and not hiring aggressively. That's the winning strategy now.
Is it possible to stay intentionally small while competing at scale?
Yes. Some companies will do this with contractors, AI, and lean operations. Instead of hiring 500 people, they'll use 50+ technology.
Can you maintain culture at that scale?
If you're intentional about it. But most grow naturally. The companies that stay small do so on purpose and fight the urge to scale up.
Why would you want to stay small if you could grow?
Because staying small means staying fast, focused, and in control. Growth feels good, but it slows you down. The best companies are willing to say no to growth.
Rapid fire? Biggest advantage of small teams?
Speed. Everything else flows from speed.
Biggest advantage of big corporations?
Capital, but it only matters if you can spend it fast.
What size is optimal?
8 to 12 people for product, maybe 30 to 50 for scaling.
Can small teams scale without becoming bureaucratic?
Some can, but it's hard. Most eventually slow down.
Is there a corporation that operates like a small team?
Elon's companies try, but they're still large organizations.
Will corporations ever adapt?
Some will, but the incentive structure works against it.
Is this advantage permanent, or will corporations adapt?
Some will adapt by spinning off small, autonomous teams. But most won't. Corporate incentives reward stability, not rapid iteration.
What would change their incentives?
If CEOs were rewarded for innovation, not just earnings. But that's not how most corporations work.
Maeve, close us out. What should every founder understand about competing against corporations?
You have massive advantages they don't. You're faster, more focused, more autonomous. Don't compete on resources. Compete on speed and focus.
How do you compete on speed?
Make decisions daily instead of monthly. Launch fast, iterate based on customer feedback.
What about execution?
Corporations execute well, but slowly. Small teams should move fast, take the market before corporations can react.
Is there a downside to being small?
If you succeed, you'll get big. Maintaining culture, speed, and focus is hard when you scale. Most companies lose this.
Maeve, thank you for showing us how small defeats big.
Thank you for asking. Founders underestimate how much smallness is an advantage. Size is a liability. Now, use your smallness and exploit it.
Everyone listening, small teams will defeat big corporations. The age of the corporation is ending. The age of the insurgent is beginning. If you're building something, remember, speed beats scale. Focus beats resources.
Stay small, stay fast, stay focused.